Okay, I have to reach back into my memory here and remember this as accurately as I can.
Ciderhelm was created as a part of a secret government project to help infiltrate the World of Warcraft, just as kind of a test subject. So he was put together by a team of scientists at NASA, actually, contracted by the U.S. government to. No, I'm making all this up.
Back in 2000, I don't remember, 2005 or 2006, I'm not quite sure which, but I had written a guide for the WoW official forums, Blizzard-owned forums.
I definitely read his guides, like especially back when I was playing my warrior originally. His articles about effective health and about threat and how all that worked were really instrumental to me in learning how to play my character.
I look back at that and I don't know how I wrote that. Like, it was a lot of pages.
He's a very smart person, very thoughtful person, person of many words, many words.
People were just kind of generally following the work I was doing and the work of people that I was citing, like Satrina, and they were coming to our guild forums. Now, this is at the end of the original World of Warcraft, before any expansions were out. They were kind of coming to the guild forums and asking questions, and this is while we're just finishing up the last bit of 40-man content before the expansion. And then after the expansion hit, we still had a group of people who were kind of following us at the guild forums and following me at the guild forums for these guides and kind of asking questions and following the movies we released and stuff. And then it was like I kind of just lost the will to play World of Warcraft.
There's like 3 different sides of Cider that depending on what movie, and he bounces between them constantly. Like he's really funny like that.
I'm not sure exactly what caused it. Like I'd point to 40-mans becoming 25-mans as feeling less epic for me, but there were a lot of factors that came in, so I can't really say for sure why.
There's business Cider, and when business Cider comes out, like things are bam, like this is, he's getting things done at that point. He is like, poof.
But I really burnt out of the game fast in Burning Crusade. So about a month and a half, 2 months in, I was already basically done with it. But I still had people come into the guild forums, and the guild at that point kind of moved on because I was a guild leader and I just stopped playing altogether. So they moved on, reformed under a new guild. And I still had guild forums and people were still coming.
There's the nothing is really all that serious Ciderhelm where he's just like help and like, oh wow, all this is going on and I think you're dead now and stuff like that.
Well, the where is Ciderhelm? I'm in a hidden bunker right now.
He's also notoriously difficult to get in touch with if you don't have, like, if you're not me, basically. He's notoriously difficult to get in touch with.
Getting a hold of me is hard, purposely. Okay, so I've got I've got a community following, kind of like a celebrity following, and I don't like it that much. Like I like people that follow what I do. It's really cool. It's really flattering. But it's hard to deal with because I'm not somebody who like just wants to be out there in the limelight all the time, who wants to be like seen all the time, and who wants to just promote myself. I understand it because we're dealing with hundreds of thousands of people. I mean, we're actually dealing with a huge chunk of people. So I'm not trying to be rude in any way, but the fact is, there's tons of people who are contacting me and I just can't keep up. It's just not realistic. I don't remember exactly where it was, but I saw someone make a comment. I think it was on the WoW official forum. Somebody made a comment about the value of armor and how it wasn't, basically armor being a stat, right? So they were making a comment about the value of armor is just so understated because its effect on health and realistically how long you can live. And people are looking at all these other things like your avoidance, your dodge, your parry and stuff, and your block, but they're not really looking at armor. And so I looked at that and I was like, yeah, it's really true. Like I know armor is good, but we've never really like quantified it. And so that's where effective health came from. And then it got to the point where Blizzard developers were basically using effective health, ghost crawlers saying, okay, effective health, yeah, we know you value this and all this stuff. So it was a very good experience. I'm happy I wrote the article. I can't take credit for the original idea, but I'm very happy I wrote the article. And that really generated that following on the guild website, but really that instantly became TankSpot. I was like, okay, I'm doing enough with this that I really got to follow this up. So I just took our guild forums, converted them into TankSpot. Didn't do anything glorious there, set up a new website or anything. I just got a new domain, changed the forum names, and then went with it, and I deleted a bunch of the old posts. Satrina is the most seclusive man in the world. Nobody knows anything about him.
I don't think I've had a single conversation with Satrina ever.
Satrina was an admin on there for a long time, and he wrote a whole lot of guides there originally as well. Actually, he moved up. He had another site before then, and then they just kind of merged at some point.
Satrina wrote the Evil Empire guides, which are really much heavier theory crafting than anything I've ever done. They got into, how does crit work, how does defense work, things that are so fundamental to tanks, but Satrina's really the one who fleshed all that out in the first place. And Satrina also did all that like half a year or a year before I was doing anything serious as far as even tanking. But anyway, he came back, and so I talked to him a little bit and said, hey, I'm going to start this site. Do you want to get involved in this? You've obviously done a very good job. So I brought him on as an admin, and right off the bat, we had his guides up, and we had the effective health, and I think we had like my long tanking Bible thing.
I see his posts. I think he might have sent me a PM once. That's about the extent of my conversation with Satrina. He's not very out there, but he does a lot of workouts, and I regularly read his workout thread.
Yeah, in all honesty, he's a very nice guy, a very smart guy. He's Canadian, and that's the limit of what I know. He's a very, very nice guy. Like, every correspondence I have with him is very formal. He's very smart. He's very much a geek, which is good, but he is the elusive man.
Well, originally I was doing a lot of stuff with a site called Maintankidin, and over the years, not really years, I guess, but over several months at Maintankidin, this was when I was playing Protection on my Paladin primarily, back in the Burning Crusade, when a Protection Paladin was kind of not great, and like one of the big topics was, are Protection Paladins actually viable tanks, or are they just there to make you worse at whatever it is you're trying to do? So at the time, I was one of the more outspoken Protection Paladins on this Maintankidin website, and that started like I started making a little bit of a name for myself from that. And then over the course of some time, I started hanging out at TankSpot a little bit. Like, at first, it was just like I'd go over to TankSpot, I'd check a couple threads, and I just watch the shout box and just see what was going on in the shout box for a while. And at one point, I remember Ciderhelm was talking about how he wanted to start doing podcasts or something, and I was like, hey, I like podcasts. I actually know a few things about podcasts. I was like, hey, if you want to co-host on your podcast, let me know. And he was like, sure, yeah, that sounds really cool.
I don't even remember. Like, I feel bad being on tape here because I don't remember. I'm sure that he approached me during Burning Crusade. And I know that he approached me. The actual like friendship, getting to know him, all that stuff really came around in Wrath of the Lich King with the video guides. Because I knew him beforehand. We did the podcast. In fact, you should probably edit that out.
I was able to like bring a little bit of a paladin side into things, and it was like, yeah, he's the warrior, I'm the paladin, I'm the one that everybody hates, and he's the one that everybody likes.
He's a very funny person. He's a very funny person. A very funny I don't know.
It's awesome. It's perfect. It's really amazing, perfect.
Lore's interesting. Lore is a really hardcore gamer. He loves gaming. He loves everything to do with games. He's very opinionated about games. Lore's funny. Lore is a hobbit. Lore lost his wedding ring in a lake. Lore is lore. That's really lore.
Cool.
I've been looking at guides on YouTube from a guy named Stego, because people are like, well, this guy named Stego on YouTube, he made a bunch of Karazhan tanking movies. And, you know, people were saying, well, you should put those up on TankSpot. So I started looking at them like, you know, those are not bad. You know, those are done pretty well. And, you know, tanks are going to glean a lot of information from that. And that's going to be pretty cool. So I put together a guide for Zul'Aman, like the last boss in Zul'Aman. And it wound up gathering like 36,000 or 40,000 views or something. So it was, I could see that that was something that people actually really wanted. And they weren't really getting that quality somewhere else. So I just kind of made a mental note to myself, okay, Wrath of the Lich King comes, I'm going to surprise everybody and just do video guides for every single encounter that I get to. So that's what I did.
When I was in Sunwell and we did Sunwell progression in an old guild of mine, I remember there were video guides on YouTube by a girl called Clearly, and she was a warlock. And she made those really generally funny, informative video guides about the Sunwell boss encounters. Now, we were doing progression on it a little behind in times. And, you know, people were like, okay, we're going to do this encounter. Go watch the video. Go see what it's all about. Go see what you have to do roughly. So I checked out her videos, and she was awesome. She made those really funny, cool guides. I was like, well, it's kind of something I would like to do. But I didn't actually touch it until Wrath of the Lich King, and I didn't do any videos in Nax. I started doing videos in Ulduar, just for fun pretty much. I was talking to my guild leader at the time, and he was in favor of it. He said, sure, go for it. Go release a strategy, go help people. And that's really what I wanted to do. I just wanted to showcase how to do things to help people. So I made my own YouTube channel, and I released, I think, about 20 or 30 video guides from Ulduar to TO Trial of the Grand Crusade.
How we recruit video authors is very fluid, in the sense of it's when I decide to go see who my competition is on YouTube and then send them messages to see if I can get them.
I started out doing just text over because I didn't want my voice on there, and I was kind of shy. And but then people were complaining that the text is actually obscuring what I wanted to show them. So I was like, okay, I'll do it. So I started doing voiceover.
It was pretty late. I don't even know why I was doing it that night. But anyway, I looked it up, and then there's some Trial of the Crusader encounter guides by Aliena. And then I'm like, okay, I like the voice a lot, so I'm going to send her a message.
Ciderhelm saw one of them and decided to contact me about doing video guides on TankSpot. First of all, I didn't know if it was real, so I decided to do some research on the whole thing. And I hadn't really heard of TankSpot at the time, because I was in a guild that did progression ahead of time. So I wasn't really in need of any video guides and hadn't heard of it. But on my videos, sometimes I got comments like, oh, you're so much better in TankSpot, or I really like your work better in TankSpot. So you had the name out there.
She's definitely been more progressed than either Cider or I have been all expansion. She's in like a top 100 guild, I believe. Like her encounter guides, she was coming out with them like way before either of us could. And they were really, really well done as well. So he got in contact with her and was like, hey, do you want to help? Do you want to come on board at TankSpot and be one of our authors?
He sent a really elaborate email, which is what he does best, about everything that working for TankSpot would entail.
When I started doing the weekly Marmot, the idea was, hey, let's come up with something that we can put out weekly that's going to be some sort of, some way to keep people interested in the game and interested in coming back to the site.
We needed more content. So the weekly Marmot is a direct extension of, we want something weekly so people have a reason to keep coming back when there's not encounters, so we can help develop that community going forward.
We would get like this huge surge of traffic when a new instance comes out, because everybody wants to go and see the video guides. But then things would kind of start to die out, you know. Then we'd still get some people coming in to look at the video guides because they're like just now getting around to the fights or whatever. But there wasn't nearly as much traffic. So we were like, okay, well, let's give this a try, you know. And I was like, maybe let's just see how this goes. I'll do this like little weekly webcam thing where I talk to people. And so the first one was all sorts of weird. Like, it's the only one that I've actually used any in-game footage in, other than one where I had like the Bear King at the end of it, and that was really funny.
He made one episode of the Weekly Marmot, and then Cider started talking to me and kind of says that, hey, Laura's gonna do an on-screen kind of series. You should do that too.
Basically, I did the first one and I was like, hello, internet, here's my face, look at it. And then she was like, oh man, that's a really cool idea. And like, she started doing them too.
I thought about it, and then I was like, well, it would get rid of the comments that I'm a robot, that I'm Asian, that I'm everything that I am not. So I made one marmot that I actually didn't name the Weekly Marmot from the start because I wasn't sure what it was gonna be at the point.
For some reason, we just didn't, like, it just didn't occur to us at the time to make them two separate things. So we were calling them the Weekly Marmot. We were calling both of them the Weekly Marmot, but like, I've been numbering all of mine. So it's like the Weekly Marmot number 30, but it's actually like number 60 because she's done 30 also. And it's weird.
Laura might have thrown out a tiny bit of a challenge saying that, yeah, he challenged me to, what was it, I think have more higher rated or more views or something. So then I made another video. Yeah, I took the challenge pretty literally and put on some elf ears and went all out. And I think it's safe to say that I beat him.
What has Laura told you? This is very important.
No, I can't say.
No, this is very important.
No, I can't say. I'm asking you, Ciderhelm.
Laura came up with the marmot.
Okay.
That's something that's totally Ciderhelm started. I came on Vent one day and he was just talking about marmots like crazy.
No, I came up with the marmot. That's the truth. That's the whole truth. The truth is out there now.
He's like, I've been on YouTube for ages and I've just been looking at pictures of marmots all day and videos of marmots. And I'm like, why are you so obsessed with marmots? And then he's like, no, you're the one who's obsessed with marmots. I'm just looking at them on YouTube all day. And I don't know. It's just like, for some reason, the rest of that day, we kept interjecting the word marmot into everything. And it was a day that we recorded a podcast too. So like, we were just talking about marmots, like even in the podcast. And people were like, what's the deal with marmots? And ever since then, it's kind of been a thing. Like, just marmots have been the TankSpot thing.
Yeah. So what's the deal? Why the marmot?
Have you seen marmots? Like, okay, yeah. There's nothing that needs to be said. They are just full of awesome. So a marmot, you go up. Okay, so there's a place up in Mount Rainier where I went there on a hike with my father and my sister when I was younger, and it was like a day hike or something, and we get up there, and then there's this prairie up in a mountain, and I don't remember if we camped there or we just got there early or exactly what happened, but there were like probably 100 marmots that just came out of their holes, and then they were just fighting each other. They were like punching each other and falling over, and it was just this awesome experience. Like, these are the coolest animals ever because they just like box each other, fall over, and then go back in their hole, or they go and like cuddle with each other or other things. And they're not aggressive or mean, but they're just awesome. So, you know, if I'm looking for a mascot, I'm going to go with what I know.
If you're doing this whole animation, there's Cider at the top, and then there's like a handful of us that just kind of help contribute ideas and everything and just help run the site. There's Blue Dot in there now too, who is like our primary code monkey. He's the one that when something breaks, I go, hey Blue Dot, this broke, and he goes, oh, and it's really funny.
He's a programmer. Nobody ever sees him except for his humorous remarks in the donor forums.
Blue Dot's kind of like the gray matter behind everything. You don't really see anything. You don't see anything of his except sometimes he makes junk posts with a lot of spelling mistakes. But you don't really see him, but he's always around. And he's around on Vent a lot. So that's kind of how I get to know him. And he's a really, really funny guy. I like him a lot, but he's just kind of there.
He's a mage too.
There's a couple people that are really, really integral to the running of the site. One is Kazianoma.
Kazianoma is a ninja.
He is our moderator monkey. I don't know how he spends as much time. Like, he spends more time on the site than any of us, bar none. Like, just, he's constantly on the site.
Oh yeah, he's crazy about it. He will, I mean, I don't know, maybe he just does it to like keep up his appearances or something, but man, that guy, as far as I can tell, reads every single thread. Like, he goes into the all new posts in the last 24 hours and he just clicks all through them.
He's the guy that, like, I get little messages on my phone. Like, every time somebody reports a post or something, I get a message on my phone, and sometimes I'll look it up and it'll be one that's kind of interesting to me. So I'm like, hey, that's kind of interesting. I think I'll take a look at that. And then there's sometimes it's like, that's spam. I'm like, oh, whatever, Kazi will get it. Like, this stuff comes up, I'm like, that's not important. We'll let Kazi get that. So his job on the site is basically to clean up all the crap I don't feel like cleaning up. But is nonetheless integral, because what he does is absolutely incredibly important for what we do on the site. The other person is Penlo.
Penlo and Horatio, I don't know, that's public knowledge. Yeah, they're married, so they've been an enormous help on the site since day one. Like, most people probably will not realize this, but Horatio actually donated a lot of the money that was necessary to start the site, to get all the licenses, to get everything with that. He was just absolutely amazing in that regard. So, you know, it was nice because when we were actually looking for someone who would handle a lot of our day-to-day communications with other sites and things, it was nice because Penlo was the one who applied for that. And so, you know, we brought her on board, and that's what she does. She basically handles what's going on in the all the kind of customer service related stuff, but also our communications with, you know, advertisers, although not so much now, but just kind of general our communications with, and our users. Any users who have issues, they talk to her first, which I'm sure is very frustrating for her.
When you send in a contact form, when you use the contact form and send in a submission, she's the one that reads it. She reads all the emails, all that sort of stuff. She works a little bit in the moderation end of things, like when we have a user that's, we don't particularly want to just ban, but they need to kind of stop something, then she gets out her wooden spoon and shakes her wooden spoon at them. So yeah, she's the mom of TankSpot, I guess, is the way to put it. We always have ideas and stuff that we want to do. We're very, very creative people. I don't know what specifically for announcements I can actually give, but obviously we're still going to be doing the encounter guides for the really serious hardcore player who wants to be able to get the absolute, you know, just be at the forefront of progression and able to get in there and kill all this stuff right away. And we're going to keep working to get those out as soon as possible so that they're useful to the people that are on the forefront of progression. I know that we're definitely looking into doing more than just encounter guides for our video guides moving forward. You know, stuff for the, you know, the more casual player who, you know, he's just questing, he's doing whatever. Little videos for them and such too.